Imagine someone in just unbearable pain, really grappling with ending their own life. And then in that moment, what if they declare their own actions blameless? Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take your sources, the texts you send us, and really try to pull out the key insights, the nuggets of knowledge. Today we're diving into a pretty challenging ancient text. It's an excerpt from the Channovādasutta, a Buddhist scripture. Our mission really is to unpack this moment of intense suffering, a decision that's, well, deeply controversial, and a teaching about freedom that's surprising, maybe even profound. So we start in a monastery. There's this monk, the Venerable Channa, a bhikkhu. He's gravely ill. And he's visited by two very respected fellow monks, Sariputta and Mahacunda. Okay, so the text kind of drops us right there on Gitchika Mountain, Vulture's Peak. Sariputta and Mahacunda are visiting their friend Channa, and the description is stark. Sick, suffering, gravely ill. But his own description of the pain, wow, it's incredibly vivid. It's almost, visceral is the word. He doesn't just say, I'm hurting.
No, not at all. It's designed to hit you hard.
Yeah.
He gives these four analogies that are just agonizing.
Yeah.
First, like his head is being split open with a sharp sword by strong winds.
Ooh.
Yeah. Then, like his head is being cinched tight, really tight, with a strong leather strap, again by these strong winds. The third one, like a skilled butcher, is cutting open his belly with a sharp knife. The wings again.
Okay, this is graphic.
It is.
Yeah. And the last one, like two strong men are holding a weaker man over a fire pit, a pit of hot coals. He describes this intense burning all through his body. And it's this level of suffering, this intensity, that leads right to his declaration. I will use a knife. I do not wish to live. He's reached his limit.
That's just incredibly intense imagery. So Sariputta's reaction, it's immediate compassion, right? He pleads with Channa, don't use the knife. He even offers, I'll find you suitable food, suitable medicine. I'll be your attendant myself. It feels like a very genuine offer of care.
Absolutely. It's deep compassion. But Channa's response is what's so striking. He turns down these offers calmly. He says he already has suitable food, medicine, and an attendant.
Really? So it's not a rejection of the kindness then?
Doesn't seem like it. It feels more like his focus is elsewhere. He then gives this really profound, almost self-assured reason. He says he served the teacher, the Buddha, pleasantly, not unpleasantly, and argues that it's fitting for a disciple to serve the teacher pleasantly. And then comes the core statement, with total conviction. Channa the bhikkhu will use a knife blamelessly.
Blamelessly?
Yes, and he makes Sariputta acknowledge it. Remember this, friend Sariputta. This claim of blamelessness right in the face of taking his own life, given everything we know about Buddhist ethics, that's the absolute crux of it. It forces you to ask, how? How can he say that?
Exactly. That word, blamelessly, it just stops you. Sariputta must sense there's something deeper going on, because he then asks permission, to question Channa on a specific point. And his questions zero right in on what are called the six sense bases, basically how we experience everything: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. He asks Channa, do you look at the eye or what you see or the consciousness of seeing and think? This is mine, this is me, this is myself. And he asks that for all six senses.
Right, and Channa's answer is the absolute pivot point of the whole text. For every single one, the sense organ, its object, the consciousness connecting them, he says clearly, no, this is not mine, this is not myself.
So a complete detachment from his entire sensory and mental experience.
Exactly. Which leads Sariputta to the next logical question.
Oh, yeah.
What did you see? What did you understand that brought you to this conclusion, this non-self perspective? And Channa's answer is the key insight here. He saw and understood the cessation of these things. The Pali word is nirodha, cessation of the eye, cessation of forms, cessation of eye consciousness, and so on for all six.
Cessation. So not just physical stopping, like closing your eyes.
No, it's deeper. It's about seeing the end of the process of identification, the end of clinging to these things as me or mine. What's really fascinating is that he's not just, quoting philosophy. He's describing a direct, personal, experiential insight. That's what freed him.
Wow. Okay, so he has this profound realization while he's in this horrific pain. Does the text suggest the pain caused the insight? Or was it just the background?
That's a great point. The text doesn't explicitly say the pain led to the insight. It feels more like it highlights the incredible circumstances. It suggests he had this deep meditative clarity already, and it held firm, even in the face of agony.
And how does this idea of cessation translate for us, for someone listening who might not be aiming for, the end of rebirth in the Buddhist sense?
Well, I think cessation speaks to a universal experience. So much of our suffering, right, comes from clinging to feelings, to ideas, to our sense of self, as if they're permanent, as if they're really us. When you start to truly see that these things just arise and pass away, that they cease. The grip loosens. You don't have to be defined by the pain or the fleeting pleasure or the thought pattern. It's about understanding impermanence, not just intellectually, but really seeing it in your experience. That insight can bring a lot of freedom, regardless of your ultimate spiritual path.
That makes sense. Seeing things arise and cease, loosening that grip.
Okay.
And then, after Channa explains this, Mahacunda steps in. He brings in a teaching from the Buddha himself.
Yes, Mahacunda offers this really foundational teaching. He refers to the Buddha as the Bhagavan, the Blessed One, and he tells Channa essentially, always keep this teaching in mind. And the teaching is this: for one who relies, there is wavering. For one who does not rely, there is no wavering. When there is no wavering, there is tranquility. When there is tranquility, there is no inclination. When there is no inclination, there is no coming and going. When there is no coming and going, there is no passing away and rebecoming. When there is no passing away and rebecoming, there is neither here nor beyond nor in between the two. This is the end of suffering.
Wow, that's dense. Let's unpack that a bit. Reliance means attachment, clinging.
Exactly. Relying on things, clinging to them, especially the sense of self, our experiences. That reliance causes wavering, instability, anxiety, suffering. So non-reliance, letting go of that clinging, leads to tranquility, inner peace, stability. From tranquility, there's no inclination, no leaning towards things, no push or pull of desire or aversion. And that stops the coming and going, which in the Buddhist context is the cycle of death and rebirth, samsara. But even outside that specific context, think about it. When you stop clinging, stop being pushed and pulled by every little thing, you find a kind of stillness, right? An end to that constant mental coming and going. It ultimately points to the complete cessation of suffering, neither here nor beyond nor in between. It's a path laid out.
A path from reliance and wavering to non-reliance and tranquility. That feels very psychologically relevant, actually. Okay, so they have this incredibly deep conversation, but then what happens next is both, well, tragic and really significant for understanding this whole text. Sariputta and Mahacunda leave, and the text says, soon after they left, Channa used the knife.
Yes, the act occurs.
And Sariputta goes straight to the Buddha, tells him what happened, and he asks about Channa's destination, his future state. Like, despite everything Channa said, Sariputta still seems to need confirmation.
It seems so, yeah. There might be lingering uncertainty about the karmic consequences. And the Buddha's first question is key. Did Channa declare himself blameless in your presence?
Which Sariputta confirms.
Yes. But then Sariputta adds this interesting detail. He mentions that Channa had connections, friendly families, well-wishing families, blameworthy families in a village called Pubashia.
Blameworthy families, why add that? Is Sariputta maybe hinting at some past issues, some attachments Channa still had?
It's possible. It could be Sariputta's own perception or just providing full information. It sort of adds a layer like, well, he said he was blameless, but there was this connection. But the Buddha just cuts through all that potential ambiguity. His response is absolutely decisive. He redefines blameworthy right there. He says, he who lays down this body and takes up another body, him I call blameworthy.
Someone who is going to be reborn.
Exactly. Someone still caught in the cycle, driven by the karma generated from clinging. That, the Buddha says, is not the case for Channa the Bhikkhu. Channa the Bhikkhu used a knife blamelessly.
Wow. So the blamelessness isn't about the act itself, judged by conventional standards, but about the state of mind and the karmic result or lack thereof.
Precisely. The Buddha is saying Channa had achieved a state of non-reliance so complete that his actions wouldn't generate future suffering, wouldn't lead to rebirth. He had cut the root of suffering, which is identification with a self that relies and clings. From that ultimate perspective, his final act marked the definitive end of his suffering cycle, therefore blameless.
That is a truly radical perspective. It really challenges conventional ideas about ethics and actions. So this deep dive, it's taken us from unimaginable physical pain through a profound insight into non-self and ended with the Buddha's really startling assessment of Channa's final act. This ancient text presents us with a very challenging idea, doesn't it? That real freedom, maybe even freedom from the whole cycle of suffering, comes from this deep personal understanding of non-self. And that state might shift the very definition of blame. So it makes you wonder, what does blame or merit truly mean when someone has supposedly severed all those cords of reliance? And perhaps more personally, how might a deeper look at our own reliance, our own clinging and wavering change how we experience suffering, and what freedom could even look like for us? It's a lot to think about.